My panel now joins me for more on this discussion. Siegfried, GOP GPS author. Fox News political contributor Tammy Bruce, also Independent Women's Voice Board of Directors, and Gina Loudin, Donald J. Trump for President Advisory Board member. Gina, 24 hours after that extraordinary meeting, there's still some good vibes out there. It's still more hopefulness that maybe a deal will be done. But let's face it, this deal is going to anger. If a deal is done, it's going to anger a lot of people on both sides of the aisle.
Well, I'm not worried about a deal being done, and here's why. I think the Democrats should deal, and I think they would be smart to deal, but I don't think that their primary concern are the DACA recipients. I think the Democrats' primary concern is making sure our borders stay open with a free flow of illegal immigrants, because they need those numbers, because Americans won't vote for them. And even people who are here for a little while, once they've been here a couple of years, they get patriotic and they become American and they get conservative. And the Democrats know they lose them at that point, so they have to keep the free flow of illegals coming in.
Well, on that note, though, Evan, it seems to me, though, that President Trump wants to get something done here. And you have enough Republicans who are open for some sort of a deal. And it seems to me also to be low-hanging fruit for the Democratic Party to do something with respect to a wall. They voted, a lot of them, over 50 of them, for a border fence not long ago. So can a deal be done?
I think a deal can be done, but it's a question of whether or not Democrats are going to say we're not going to be beholden to our far left base. We've seen the far left base say it's got to be open borders and we don't want a wall. Now, I think the other thing that Democrats are doing is they're going out and painting the wall as racist. I believe in a strong border, and I think that we have a lot of problems with the wall physically because of eminent domain. And as a conservative, I don't think that it's appropriate when you have 1,200 miles for the Mexico-Texas border and only 100 miles of that is publicly owned land. They'd have to pay, the government would have to pay significantly more than $18 billion and spend almost a decade to 2 decades based upon the way they did the secure fence to actually get that land. However, we can, as President as President Trump's advisors, former Mayor Rudy Giuliani and Secretary of Energy Rick Perry, do a technological wall, which is in this. Another area that they have to deal with are visa overstays. 42% of illegal immigrants entering or in the country are visa overstays, right, and 66% since 2014.
Here's the thing, though, Tammy. Republicans are saying this is an issue that should also come under the heading rule of law. And every nation has the right to protect their borders. And the notion that perhaps it's racist, say that to anybody who locks the door and sets their alarm before they hit the sack tonight, think you get a pretty good bipartisan, that's a pretty smart idea, something to do.
Well, look, Congress has been trying to deal with this, obviously, for a very long time. And they haven't been able to do it. The American people have felt that this is a big part of our problem on the issue of low wages, criminality, the general security of America, terrorism, drugs, etc. It's the core of what is destroying this country. So we know this. The problem for the president is not even the minutia about, some of the arguments involved here. He ran on ending this amnesty, on the wall, on a very specific sovereign dynamic regarding security for this country. If he backs up and says and does what he says in that meeting, and I've been a supporter of the president, but if he goes and he says, as he did in the meeting, I'll sign whatever it is you send to me, that is effectively doing what the Republicans did regarding Obamacare, saying one thing to get elected, to get people's money, and doing the opposite. This is not why the president was elected.
Is there a reality in Washington, D.C., though, that that's the way it goes? That's the way it has to go to get something done?
Well, obviously, if we wanted to just do what needed to happen in Washington, we would have elected Jeb Bush. We didn't. When Jeff Flake leaves and says, I understand now, the wall really isn't a wall, it's a fence. And when Jeb Bush is tweeting that he really loves what Donald Trump is doing, what was the exercise in 2016 about? So President Trump was not, we know changing this environment is going to be a fight.
Sure.
It's a reformation. But remember, it's the art of the deal. It's not that right now. Maybe this is the beginning of part of the negotiation. Maybe he figures the House won't do a deal that the Democrats would like at all. But those are a lot of ifs. I think the American people, the people that voted for the president, need to know that this is not him turning into low-energy Jeb.
Well, then let me ask you, Evan, as someone who's been critical of President Trump, is this the kind of pivot that you want to see? Is this the kind of pivot that may be attractive to millennials, that may be attractive to Hispanic voters in the future? Could this have a positive impact beyond the core voters for President Trump, and is it worth the risk?
Well, I think everybody, or over 70% of the country, favors DACA. That's not a problem. It's about getting border security. And that, with President Trump talking about that, because the way the media has portrayed it, they hear that it's a racist thing to be for strong borders. Strong borders are good in that it keeps the country safe.
Sure.
It prevents the flow of illegal drugs, illegal aliens, and keeps our economy strong.
Let me ask you, Gina, does this put President Trump in an awkward position? And if he does a deal and he gets the wall, but there's also something on DACA, you know, I don't know how the final package would look, but effectively, to Tammy's point, it would all but be amnesty. Would you be okay with that? And because Ann Coulter's not okay with it, Tucker Carlson's not okay with it, and a lot of viewers have reached out to me and told me they're not okay with it.
Well, I think that there are some people that are definitely saying they're not okay with it. But I have a feeling that the president knows exactly what he's doing here, Charles. And I think that, you know, looking at things like the Ninth Circuit decision, the court decision, using the courts, the Democrats using the courts yet again to do something that is essentially unconstitutional. I think the fact that the Democrats are not going to be willing to come to the bargaining table.
I'm saying judicial activism aside and Democrats aside, if the final deal is a border wall, which was a big thing on the campaign trail, but also a compromise on DACA, which is effectively amnesty. Does that help or hurt this president? Does it help or hurt Republicans going into the midterms?
I think long term, the president has a plan, Charles, and he knows exactly what he's doing. We've watched so much winning this year that I can't imagine that the president doesn't know exactly what he's doing based on his own base that he has been very loyal to. Let's not forget putting the capital back in Jerusalem. Let's not forget things like even the Johnson Amendment that I think most people didn't expect him to keep his promise on. I have a feeling every time I have thought this president was playing checkers, I've realized he's playing chess, and many of us watching just need to sit back and watch because he usually always has a plan, and it usually has to do with his artful negotiation. And I bet that's what we'll see, Charles.